Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Randy Small, Whatcom County Weather, and yeah, just looking forward to going over this, but I'm not necessarily looking forward to a big windstorm. But honestly, I think we're going to have to take this piece by piece, and it's going to be a nowcast. We're just going to have to watch it and see what unfolds. But first of all, before I get into that, let me just make sure everybody can hear me. Is Randy looking for Kale right now? No, I'm not looking for Kale. But I'm wondering if you can all hear me here. Make sure I am live. So just let me know if you can hear me here and if everything is good to go. Okay, Keith says he can hear me. Okay, good. Sound is fine on YouTube and Facebook. I think we should be good. So let's go ahead and get right into this here. We do have an updated, and you hopefully can see this little map that we have now a high wind warning, and I'm going to explain this in just a minute about the zones. But we have a high wind warning all the way down the I-5 corridor. This is the National Weather Service Seattle, and also there's a high wind over here on the peninsula, and then there is a wind advisory into the foothills. And I'm going to explain the difference here in just a minute. But just so you know, they've just put those out about 8:30 or so tonight. It's interesting because Portland, on the other hand, has played it differently, so to speak, than the National Weather Service Seattle. And I really like the National Weather Service Seattle. What they did was put a wind watch, and then they turned it into a wind warning for the lowlands and a advisory for the foothills. So I'm not going to get into the dynamics of why the to our south hasn't maybe put up the headlines yet. Maybe they're just waiting as well. But the model data is not settled yet. So, but I think the National Weather Service in Seattle is just going ahead with what is, how do I say this, the percents of here's what the weather model data, this percent, this group shows, strong gusts versus this group which isn't, or as much or more run-of-a-mill windstorm, so to speak. And so it's really, you could probably flip a coin, but I guess it's weighted a little bit more to a stronger windstorm at this point. But it's certainly not 100% or whatever, 99.9, whatever the forecast chance can be. It's definitely not weighted to something like that. This is a definite up in the air, that's more than a pun, situation. So let me just show you real briefly that we have a high wind warning. Hopefully you can see that. Just make sure. I think I'm on the right the graph here, or on the right page. High wind warning has been issued for 1 to 7 p.m. We mentioned it was afternoon to early evening last night, and they've just gone for a 6-hour period. That means it's going to ramp up and come back down in a hurry. And then it's for southeast winds, 25 to 35 mile an hour, with gusts 50 to 60 expected. Okay, that would, if this went on the high end, now we can handle, there's going to be some damage and power outages with some 50 mile an hour gusts. But when it starts trending into the mid 50s and 60 area, that's when we could have a lot more trouble. But, they've left this to where it's 50 to 60. I find that interesting that if they, if it gets to, 49, we just call that basically 50. But if it stays kind of in that 50 range, it's going to be not probably the worst, in the world. It's just going to be a run-of-the-mill windstorm. But again, if it starts trending up, but they've left that open, it feels like to me, and maybe this is normal, and I'm sure this is based off of they have a catalog or a criteria, but I do like this, that they've left it down by 50 as a possibility, up to 60. Now, I can take time to look at all of these, but it's obviously Island and Western Skagit, but I want to show it's the lowlands of Western Whatcom County, okay? And 1 to 7, and obviously damage and initial details are the fact that it will start out as east-northeasterly in the morning before an abrupt shift to southerly. We talked about that on the live last night. And that is also going to come to play in the advisory. let me see if I can find real quick the zones. Actually, I might just search for this. Let me see if I can find the forecast zones for NWS Seattle to show you the difference. Let me see here. I know there is a nice graphic that somebody has put together that shows all. That is not it. And I did not get this ready. I wish I could. Maybe I'll try to get that for if I do a video update in the morning. I'll try to get the zone color of the zones, because this little map back here just doesn't do a good justice of showing the zones. I'm not sure. Do they have it on here? Okay. Well, they have redone the forecast zones earlier this year, and they basically split Whatcom County into lowlands, foothills, and mountains. I believe it's something like that. And so what they did for the wind advisory is they did that for the foothills, meaning they're looking more at higher gusts closer to the water. Okay? And so the wind advisory is actually longer. It's from 4 till 7 tomorrow, 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. And starts with east winds with gusts to 45, shifting abruptly to south with gusts to 50. So do you notice something? The wind advisory goes up to 50. The wind warning, kind of the low end of the gusts, is 50. So it kind of is like a cover there. And again, it might be based off the criteria in the book, and there is a criteria. But it's the foothills and valleys of the North Cascades. You say, well, what are the foothills? What are the valleys? So it's pretty simple. If you go to the National Weather Service, just start, and I put Acme in here, just start typing in, where you live, and put that up here in this little box. And I put Acme, and Acme is in the valley. Okay? It's kind of on Highway 9 there. And so wind advisory is for Acme. But if you go with Sumas, I'm going to guess that this is under a high wind warning, but we'll see. I could be wrong. They are under a high wind warning. Okay? And so you just have to, if you want to know what your status would be, let's see, Glacier. Let's put Glacier. I'm trying to do foothills here, and we're not looking for the national park. They have a wind advisory. Let's try Deming. Deming's going to be on the edge here. Let's see what they have for Deming. They have a wind advisory, and I would consider personally Deming in the foothills. It's not a high elevation. So Everson, and I'll put, somebody's going to ask me about Sudden Valley. Just a second. Everson's got a high wind warning. Let's do Fairhaven. I'm not sure if that's even going to come up since, it's not. Oh, well, that is if I would spell it correctly. But that's, well, it is. It's just going to call itself Bellingham. Obviously, Fairhaven's not a high wind warning. I don't know if Sudden Valley is going to show up on here. Sudden Valley Health Club. Well, there we go. Maybe that's the one I need to put in. Sudden Valley is considered the foothills as part of that zone. And again, I wish I could find those zones for you. I know there was a beautiful colored map I had a hold of at one time. I'm looking here, just see if I have it in my database, but I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry. I wish I had that. But anyway, you can just kind of find if you're in the wind advisory versus if you are in the high wind warning. But it's basically the lowlands versus the foothills is the difference here. Okay? So why is there such a struggle? In fact, you might ask, why you keep saying, the weather models don't agree or there's not consensus. Even if there was consensus, I would still, to call off a big, to call a big windstorm is a big weight around the National Weather Service, in the sense of that's a lot of responsibility, because as we talked about flooding a couple of weeks ago, you're weighing out, a big windstorm versus, is this going to be, people are, we put the high wind warning, but it ends up being a nothing. And the only thing that blows over is a couple chairs in the backyard, and no trampolines go down the road. Not many trees fall over. So what I'm seeing here is, they're playing it kind of safe, but we honestly going to have to watch it live. I did pull up the satellite around the infrared here. Hang on a second. Let me switch over to that to show you. Let's see here. Not sure. I got to remember where I put that. No, it's on this other one. I'm sorry. It's right here. And you can, I kind of zoomed in on California. I'll get to your comments and questions in just a bit here. Let me just put this into motion. You can kind of see here off the California, kind of central California heading into north. This low is starting to, pick up here and almost close in. Okay. And so that, it's kind of pushing north here. Hopefully you can see that. And so, if that thing closes up here, we'll see. And we're going to have to watch this as we go into the morning. I mean, this is going to move rather rapidly, it appears like. And this is going to happen. I mean, by tomorrow night, everything's going to be done. I mean, in 24 hours, we're going to look back and say, okay, what happened? What did we miss? What did we get right? Did we get anything right? Did we get everything right? And right now, the National Weather Service Seattle is kind of playing it, I think, safe, but smart. I would totally love what they've done with their messaging and everything. And so here's how I would say it. There's a potential, a higher percent that there's going to be a good windstorm, but I don't know that this is going to go down as the big one, the big regional one or the next big one. Not sure about that. Some weather models are putting that out. Others have backed off. Some have come back and were less, and now they're stronger again. It's real. UW last night was really crazy for strong winds, and it's backed off tonight. So it's like it could be just a run of a mill windstorm. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to probably say this 3 times or more. We don't know the final outcome yet, just as we said this with the flooding. So you prepare for the possibility that this could be a big windstorm. So tomorrow do your baking in the morning. If you go out of power at the south windstorm often, be prepared that might happen. If we are, as we're watching this come up north, we're going to know what the wind speeds to our south are, because we're going to be on the tail end of this, so to speak. And I'll show you that on the weather models in just a minute. But we'll be kind of at the end. We're going to know what it's done and what track it's probably taken. Now, it could dive earlier. It could come up east. It could come up the coast. I mean, there's a whole bunch of scenarios, and we don't know that final outcome. But we could have a high-end windstorm. I don't know if it'll be a regional one, but I suppose that's still on the table, and it could be. But we could have, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts that would bring down some trees. 60 mile an hour gusts would probably, cause a bunch of power outages. We could see 40 mile an hour gusts. I don't know if we'll see nothing. So we've got this range, and it's just what it is. We just, and so charge your stuff, before the early afternoon. If you, what else can I say? Batten down the Christmas blow-ups. Your trampoline, make sure it's not going anywhere. And those kinds of things. And honestly, I love windstorms in one sense, but I don't like, we don't really need a destructive windstorm for Christmas Eve. I mean, that's just going to be but I suppose it's on the table. So anyway, we just don't know if it's going to and how this is going to play out. So let me switch back to, because my screen is now white for whatever reason here. I don't know why that did that. Let me switch over to the NAM, but I'm going to, and the weather models here. Let me see. There we go. Let me see real quick here if, let me do the comments. Make sure you like the stream, please, if you can, on YouTube. Love the one on Facebook. That helps us with the algorithm. We are growing. We're up to we're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, and we've grown rather quickly. And I really appreciate the comments that have come in on the video today earlier. And I really appreciate the live chats and the comments on Facebook. Hit the share button on YouTube and share it with your friends as well. I was in Costco tonight. Talked to them. There was 4 or 5 people that said hi to me. Most of them I didn't know who they were, but they recognized me or they saw my Whatcom County weather sweatshirt. Some of them did not know about a windstorm potential tomorrow. I would say 3 or 4 of them did and 1 or 2 didn't, something like that. So, let people know if you're helped by this. And obviously it's hard to forecast this. And just keep an eye on the page tomorrow. Go straight to the page. And just follow the newest updates, in the morning and onward. And we're just gonna watch a lot of data live as it comes. Okay. And remember, I can't control this. I can only try to help. And let's hope we don't get a big windstorm. Okay. Let me take a look at YouTube comments here real quick, and then I'll check Facebook. It looks like we got the regulars coming in here just about every night. So grateful for all those that are coming in. And appreciate those who shared that I was going live tonight. We were talking about some pumps still empty in the crawl space. Power loss would be frustrating. That absolutely, with the flooding. Absolutely. Just like, honestly, we love snow, but an Arctic blast right now wouldn't be very good for people's homes in the flood areas that are, have taken out insulation and all that, and trying to dry up stuff, and then, run heaters, and then you're really having to run heaters. So that's why one of the many reasons. Also holidays. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of people, visiting friends and family. They might have them in town. And then, to have a tree fall down and knock out power, or worse, a tree fall down and hit your car or whatever. It's not really what anybody's looking for tomorrow at all. So anyway, got a few people saying hi, from one in Mount Vernon, and so a broadcaster is going to be up here in Geneva tomorrow. Jen is asking, where's the part where we all settle down for a long winter nap? Yes. I have not bought any kale. So Mark's here from Des Moines. Great to have you. Keith is going to use his handheld anemometer. I might have to get mine out for tomorrow as well. And I potentially would chase this for a little while, but I have a Christmas Eve thing at like 5:30 tomorrow night. So with my family. But I am going to go to Bellingham. I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm putting my snow tires on tomorrow. Not because I see any snow in the forecast, but it just worked out to get them on. And so I will kind of already be in Bellingham in the around noontime-ish. So we'll just kind of see what goes from there. Steph asks, are you expecting the east winds in Sun Valley like we had for the bomb cyclone if this all plays out? And the answer is no. Those were, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but those were some kind of special thing. No, this would just be the normal east wind that we might get with a Fraser outflow or easterly in the foothill gaps, but nothing. I would be honestly a little more concerned about the southerlies in Sudden Valley, especially if this overachieves, that 50, 55 mile an hour gust. Although they have a wind advisory for Sudden Valley, they could upgrade that if they saw things. So they could easily do that. So, but I don't see the easterlies being an issue. I mean, obviously, maybe a couple trees, but nothing like what happened to Sudden Valley in the bomb cyclone. Okay, hello from Linden. Excellent, thank you. Keith, bringing it here, saying please hit the subscribe, share, and ring the notification bell. Okay, and for praying for safety for everyone. Yeah, and again, yeah. We just keep an eye on the page. I don't know what else to tell you. We'll take a look at this model data here in just a second, okay? Let me see here. I can hear you. All is good. Why are all these starting at 4 a.m., Elizabeth asks. The advisory, so I'll go back to this. Hold on a second. I got to switch back. The advisory, which is over here, is right here. The advisory is because of the easterly winds that could gust up to 45. The easterly winds that happen actually, the easterlies that happened in the bomb cyclone a little over a year ago were more mountain waves coming off, and this is not that setup. There's a couple of big differences in this setup. Again, I'm not saying a tree or two or three couldn't fall down in the easterlies at 45 mile an hour in Sun Valley, but it wouldn't. They would be the southerlies that could be more of an issue. Okay, But that's why there is an extended advisory because of the easterlies in the gaps in the foothills, so to speak. Okay? So they start earlier in the day. But they don't have that for the wind warning because that's not as probably not as strong and doesn't hit the criteria in the lowlands. Then the advisory continues, so that starts in the early morning hours from like 4 to 1, and I can show you that. And then from 1 to 7, you would be under a wind advisory if you're in the foothills. The wind warning starts at 1 o'clock to 7, which is the lowlands, and out on the islands in the water. That's a short-lived one because the easterlies won't affect us as much as it would the foothills. Hopefully that makes sense. By the way, there is a coastal flood advisory as well tomorrow from 6 a.m. to noon. And we will have to keep an eye on, the king tides that'll be coming up in late December, early January as well, especially if we keep having wind events. Okay? Appreciate the kind words. Appreciate it very much here. Merry Christmas, Christy. Thank you for following from Abbotsford or across the border. We do appreciate our BC friends across the border. Really do. And I will say this. Every time we go across the border, we just love British Columbia, and I wish I could get more. I mean, just going to Whistler was so much fun for Judy and me in October, and we want to explore more of BC, and we want to get to the island, and yeah, we have lots of ideas. But with my camera, there's just such beauty up across the border, and we like the restaurants and the different towns. It's a beautiful city. Few people, but and obviously these Lower Mainland and Fraser Valley is growing, but man, we just love it. So appreciate our BC people. We appreciate our Western Washington, Skagit, Snohomish Island, San Juan, anybody that's following. We appreciate you all. So, okay, let me check back here. Okay, let's go over what the latest model data tonight. And you can kind of see this. Let me switch the view. So you should see a kind of a yellow-orange map. And I'll come back to the comments in just a few minutes. But this is kind of the geekier technical part. And I'm not going to get some other of the live streamers get even deeper into the tech stuff here. I kind of feel like that's not necessarily the group that we have here. Not that there aren't some that would love that. But I think just saying, okay, there could be a windstorm. Here's what it would look like. Just telling those details instead of trying to get into the deep stuff. And honestly, I don't have the wherewithal and time to get into all that anyway. So let's look at the North American model. Last night was showing crazy winds. Here we go. We're going to put it into motion. This is the latest run. Yeah, it is. Here comes this low up by Northern California. It's deepening as it comes up from the south to north. It's 983, 982. It comes up that coastline, 983, 983. Just keeps hugging this coast and then kind of dives in east and then goes north. Okay, so now what does that translate for winds? Or at least what does it think? So we'll just put this in motion. Here come the wind gusts. You can see them pretty good down here in California, south to north. And then as we go through the day, we got some 40s coming through the Willamette and Portland. But this NAM, and then 50. And then now it does throw a 58 at Bellingham Airport. But that's like the highest gust. Besides in the mountains, the max gust is 67. I'm not sure where that 67 was. Maybe in eastern Oregon, to be honest, because that low comes inland a little bit. And actually, this would be a welcome relief to what was yesterday. Let me just pull up yesterday. Well, I don't know if I have yesterday's 0Z. I guess I don't. But here's the 67 at Bellingham Airport, 70. Okay, it is the NAM, the North American model, has backed off some. And it would be more, I would call this a run-of-the-mill windstorm, kind of a typical one. Okay, let's take a look at the HER. Now, this one tonight has been, deepening, or at least seemingly getting stronger. This one runs every hour, the high rapid rate refresh, something like that, the HRRR. And I'm going to see if I can zoom back out to the northwest here. And hopefully you can still see my maps here. And I'm going to put on the surface pressure here and actually I'm going to pull it back to the 0Z. And here comes this low. Now, it's a little bit further maybe offshore here. See, that's a little further offshore than the NAM. Here it comes up, and then it dives inland right here, and then kind of goes up into not northern BC, but north of Vancouver, for lack of a better term, but up into BC there. Now, you might say, okay, so what does the HER translate? I would guess these winds are going to be stronger. So let's just put this into motion. Here comes the winds in California. And here's some 50. Here's a 60, 64 in the Willamette or Portland area. 60s. It throws a 72 out at Bellingham. Oh, yes. High resolution rapid refresh. That's right. High res rapid refresh. The 0Z HER is concerning. Okay? Now, sometimes these weather high res do overdo the winds, but that would be a big concern for winds of that nature. 75 it's spitting out. And then on into BC, it's spitting out some 60s. Don't ask me what that is in kilometers. But, the HER is really damaging from northern Oregon all the way up the I-5 corridor and even into the Foothills Mountains, just because the track is better. So, or better being better for the higher winds. I'm not saying better for what we really want. Now, I'm going to pull the latest HER, which is run all the way out, and I'm going to take a look at the pressure here and just see what it does. 985, it's still right there along that coastline. 984, and that's where it ends. Now let's see what this translates into gusts here tonight. This is the latest run. I'm kind of just seeing if it's toned it down, but it kind of doesn't feel like it. If it does, it hasn't been much. Yep, here it goes. So the latest HER has 57. Is that Portland? 59, somewhere there, close to Portland. And then mid 50s, 57 as we come up, and then 60 in the islands. And then that's where the run ends. So we can't see the next one until the next hour. Okay? So, Alex says it's 60 miles is 100 kilometers per hour. So the HER is concerning. The NAM has pulled back. Let's look at this one. This is one that's going to, it's an experimental, but it's going to become, what's the word? I think it's going to become an actual one here. Not experimental anymore, an actual one. But this is just wind speeds. I'm just so this isn't gusts. But again, these wind speeds, these would be pushing out potential bigger gusts. So this one's an interesting one. Let's look at the Euro 18Z just to see what it had. Here, I'm going to put it into motion. This was earlier today. The Euro is not as strong, although 987, and it also digs it inland here. Okay, and 987, and it kind of skirts to our east. That would translate into not a huge amount of wind. Overall, let me just look at the wind gusts here for the Euro. In fact, you can see it's just a nothing burger. 20 miles an hour. 23, maybe some 30s. So the Euro, now this is just the deterministic. It's the main model run, but the ensemble average is somewhat similar, but there are some solutions that would be stronger. Let's look at tonight's GFS real quick here. What I'm showing you is these models don't agree. These weather models are not in agreement. Let me just put up the GFS, the Americans for tonight, or the US model. It's got a 990 low down here, and it kind of digs a little bit 989 along the coast, 991, and then it digs just into Whatcom County, a 994, right over Sudden Valley. A 994, and then it's probably off into who knows where. Oh, maybe it digs to the west. I'm not sure where that thing goes. But now let's translate. I can tell you right now, this would not be a big windstorm overall from what I would see on this. Let me just see here. Yeah. It's, again, GFS, not Eastern Oregon. Yes. Whatcom County, 36. So the low-res models, at least the GFS and Euro low-res, are not showing much in the latest runs for windstorms. See, here's the problem. And the Euro is supposed to be the king. That's what we kind of jokingly call it. But, and let's look at, you know what? I don't know what to tell you on this. I honestly don't know what to say. Yeah. I'm scared to tell you what I think because in one sense, if I tell you, but I can tell you what I kind of guessing is going to happen. But if I'm off, then I feel like I didn't get the message across like I'd want. Let me make sure I'm still on the right one. Here's the UW for tonight, and I'm going to show you the difference between the UW last night in just a second. Here's our northeast flow here. That was tonight. Oh, by the way, it has already started because I saw the flags when I came home from Bellingham and my Christmas shopping. By the way, it wasn't too bad in Bellingham. Going in it was, but actually some of the store, Costco wasn't bad at all. But northeast wind, see, here's the northeast wind right here. I'll zoom in. See, northeast, easterly northeast, but right here through the Fraser. But this isn't advisory. But they, at least in the lowlands. Let's see what time. That's 4 a.m., I believe. So there's not a ton of easterly wind here on this. I mean, there is northeasterlies. No, don't put yourself in motion that fast. So yeah, there's some east wind there at 1, and then there's the switch. There's the switch to southerlies at between 1 and 4 because this goes 3 hours. This is scaled way back from last night. This is like 35 to 40 knots ish. Okay. Now I can't see every hour. I'm going to pull back here and I'm going to show you last night's run or even the 0Z. If I go to past runs here, hang on 1 second here. Let's look at this one. Let's see if this one earlier today, this morning's run. Let me see. I forget. I've looked at so many weather model maps, I start forgetting which one's which here. Hang on. Let me get the wind gust map up here. Okay. Here it is. Here's the loop. Let me stop this a minute. Okay, here's Tuesday. Let me see what Wednesday was showing this morning. Hold on 1 second here. Here it comes. Here it comes. Yeah, look at this. So this is 50 to 55 and even 60 knots out in the islands. So that's why I said the UW has scaled back. So now we have the HER and the NAM. I'd say the HER's taken the lead in bad scenario. With the NAM, the UW is scaled back. The Euro and GFS are kind of down here. I mean, we can sit here and look at weather models all night, and we still aren't going to know. So I sure hope, and I hope this is not a historic windstorm. And I'm just kind of feeling like that I think we could get a windstorm, but I can see this falling apart. But I could be totally wrong, and maybe there again, like this is more hope that it falls apart because I honestly just don't want to see a bunch of trees down and damage and all of that, roads closed and power out for 48 hours or more. So I would say historic windstorm, give it a few percent. Above average windstorm, I'd give it a 20-25% chance. A run-of-the-mill windstorm, I'd put that kind of in the 40% chance, maybe a little more. So what do I have? 5 to 10 plus 25 plus 40, something like that. And then a whole complete, you guys make fun of every weather person and meteorologist and me, where nothing tips over and it's only, a chair in your backyard tips over and there's, nothing. And you guys are like, what windstorm? I would say, there's a 25 to 30%. I don't know if those add up. But that's kind of where I'm at. And maybe I'm wish casting in some ways, hoping that, that's why I'm putting it, 10%, that it could be like a 5 to 10 would be the historic end. I'm kind of hoping that it's really not, just for many reasons. So, but I can see it. That's why I like what the National Weather Service Seattle has done. 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. And then the foothills a little less, but still up to 50. I think that's a great call. And we might get on them sometimes, the National Weather Service. I think they've done excellent, at least in the Seattle area. And they've got a big area to cover. That reminds me of something else. When it comes to all the different coverage area, it's not just all, flat land of Kansas. It's mountains, it's high mountains, it's ocean, it's next to the water, it's sea level, it's hills. There are so many dynamics in National Weather Service Seattle's range, that I mean, just they're doing a great job. But there was a graphic. Let me just make sure. I think I'm on the right one. Let me just pull this up from and we posted this earlier, and I really appreciate you all joining tonight. We are getting a lot more people watching, so really, really appreciate that. It's such an honor to be able to do this, and I'm telling you, everywhere I go in either, we can look at the current pressure in just a minute. Everywhere I go, people are appreciative of this Whatcom County weather page. And I'm telling more and more people about the YouTube channel. Even if you're not watching on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button, because we are in the process of being monetized, and that is going to grow us even further. But just really appreciate you all. And I keep saying that because this would be boring if I was talking to just, myself. So, but earlier, the National Weather Service Seattle put out this graphic. Let me make sure that is mostly, it's not very seeable. Seattle's the top one, Olympia is the bottom. Okay, so in this graphic, we have gusty winds possible Wednesday. What we know, a weather system will move northwards into western Washington. Hey, we'll look at the area forecast discussion here in just a minute. A new one should be out. What remains? Uncertainty. The exact track of the system and the strength of the system on Wednesday. Because of this, the wind forecast for Wednesday remains highly uncertain. I mean, they're just telling it, okay? What do the graphs show? The graphs along the left show the range of wind gusts on Wednesday for Seattle and Olympia. This is from what's called the HREF, the High Resolution Ensemble Forecast System, a combination of high resolution weather models. Speaking of, I know we have that. Oh, that's the SREF. I thought we had the HREF in here somewhere. Hold on. Is that in the ensembles? I'm just looking for that one. I thought we had access, but maybe they only have access. We have the SREF, but I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Anyway, back to this fun reading here. The time period highlighted by the dashed line is 1 p.m. Wednesday. And this time, the forecast information shows a high-end solution for Seattle, thank you, at 67 miles per hour, and a low-end solution of 12. That speaks to the uncertainty of this period and the timing of the winds. They have Olympia 8 to 69. I mean, this is, but this is a great graphic. An excellent graphic. We posted it earlier. You can check on that and read it yourself this morning. And let's look at the AFD here. I'm going to quick switch over to this, and I'm going to pull up the area forecast discussion for tonight. Let's just see if there's anything that I'm missing here, just to make sure. My dinner just got brought to me, so okay. 8:29, so a little over an hour ago. Update: high wind watches have been upgraded to warnings across the interior lowlands. The foothills, we opted to go with advisories and begin them early tomorrow as gap winds up to 45 miles an hour. Let me say something else about the gap winds. They're probably eyeing not necessarily our gap quite as much as it would be the I-90, Highway 2, those gaps down there. North Bend, and then down as they come down into the plateau and those kinds of things. Probably more than even us, but they just put it on for everyone, it looks like, for the valleys and foothills. This is the advisory. Guidance has been consistent on the coast staying below threshold, so the watch has been canceled there. So the coast means there are no headlines on the, let's see, where am I, hang on. Over here on the coast, there's no headlines, okay? Which is unusual, actually. There may be some gusts of 45 miles an hour with the easterlies, but the actual low core is not compact enough to forecast significant winds on the coast tomorrow. Okay, the low feature is offshore of San Francisco currently. It continues to work its way north-northwest overnight. Okay, let's look over. Deepening low pressure system. Okay, that's nothing new. We know that. wind. A compact low-pressure system developing along the northern California coast this evening will lift north toward the Pacific Northwest. Models continue to struggle with the path and subsequent strength of the surface low as it approaches western Washington midday Wednesday. Morning runs of the HREF and refs continue to show mean gusts, not mean, but average, not real mean ones, of 45 to 50 miles per hour through Puget Sound, as well as the coastal areas, by early to mid-afternoon Wednesday, with 90th percentile data showing gusts in the realm of 60. So, not a very likelihood chance. I feel like, it's so hard to say this is absolutely not going to be. I want to say this. I don't think this is going to be a historic windstorm, but man, we just gotta be careful with saying that. So, I'm hoping not, but we'll just have to keep an eye on this. As with many high wind producing storm systems, i.e. last week, deference is also given to the rate of changing of surface pressure and topographical driven contributions. As of this morning, plots from both the GFS and NAM were still showing 8 to 12 millibars of pressure rise in 3 hours through a swath of the coast and Puget Sound. Funneling that through a north-south oriented channel like Puget Sound can act to enhance the wind, especially when you got 5,000 foot or 850 millibar winds are roughly from the same direction at 60 plus knots. We talked about this on the video earlier today. There will be some rain, but not a whole lot. There'll probably be some snow up in the mountains, but it doesn't look like a ton. What did it say, around an inch? So, okay. Let's see here. Raptor 7, what's the current pressure? I would have to dig up some buoy information for out in the water. Let me pull up this map, and I can take a look at our pressure locally. So let me pull this up. Mean sea level pressure here for our area. Let me just take off the temperature and put on the sea level pressure. So up here at the airport, it's 1,007 millibars. Now let's zoom out. So it's 997, 996 off the California coast right now. 998. Okay, hang on. There's a buoy out there of some sort. 998. Doesn't it? Yeah, I know there's a way to... Hold on a second. Bear with me a sec. I am going to try to find something on my surface analysis map. 1 second here. See what happens. See if I can see this. Yeah, there's the low. Can you see this? Yeah. There's the low as of, hang on. There's the low right here as of 3Z Wednesday, so minus 8 hours, would put us at 7 o'clock tonight. So this is a little old, but it looks, they don't have a... They have it 992, it looks like. I think that's associated with that L. And we'll keep checking this. There is maybe another site that we can find even quicker updates, or at least more regularly. But there's the low, and it hasn't deepened a whole lot yet. It's, okay? So, yeah, I think this pressure is pretty accurate right here off the coast, 996. I think that's probably, right here. So... Okay, so it looks like the current pressure as of 7 o'clock was 992. I know there's another map. Let me see here. Let me see, hang on. One of these maps, but I think this is going to pull up the same. Let me see. Yeah, same data. That's the same data. It looks like it's a 992 right now. So, we'll keep an eye on that. What if it suddenly drops to 960? Well, again, 960, I mean, that would be bad. It would be bad. But also the track, who would really get that? That would just be bad. Especially, if it took kind of this crazy track that it's wanting to. Okay, well, Mark asks, will it be bad for Nanaimo? I would say probably not. Let me go back here and put on the this. Hang on 1 second here. Let me look at the her. And let me look at the 0Z, and I mean, it just doesn't look like, I mean, I guess it, I mean, it gets the southeast end of Vancouver Island, but I don't know if that's really getting. I mean, it's possible if that's getting closer to Nanaimo, but I think that's up on this map, and I don't know if I have a BC map on this one. So, I mean, Gwen, it depends on which model we're looking at. Let me look at this one here. Yeah, this one's not really showing. Definitely not showing there. I would say Nanaimo's probably out of, you know, I mean, again, there could be a couple scenarios where it could be part of it. Just depends on the track of the low. But on a lot of these models, I don't think that area would get hit as hard. Okay, no strong wind here on the south coast yet. Yeah, no strong wind yet. This will be tomorrow. Raptor says he's under a high wind warning. Okay. Let me look at Facebook. And I will recap this. Aluba asked, when will this start? 1 to 7 tomorrow, I believe, is the hours for the high wind warning. In the lowlands, 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the advisory in the foothills because of potentially some easterlies. Although I think, again, that's probably going to be more for down south in the gaps. But, yeah, and I know a lot of people are over it. I appreciate Merry Christmas. Thank you for all that as well. And Merry Christmas to all of you as well. Okay, any other things that you want to see tonight? I've kind of given you what percentages, thoughts. Watch the page tomorrow. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Love on Facebook. If I do go out and live stream, I did a test run of YouTube tonight and it went pretty well. Just a private link. But my priority will probably end up being Facebook if I have problems with YouTube, because Facebook holds the stream better. Although I'm sure hoping I am going to have a fix for that, I think soon. I have ordered a few things today. I've spent a little money today. So on trying to upgrade a few things, and I'm hoping I can get these two streams into one. I was hoping to do that today, but it didn't happen. So, okay, everyone. I mean, we can look at other weather and, you know, talk about what comes up. Christmas Day seems to be overall. I don't think it's going to be much. Let me just take a look at that while we're here. Christmas Day forecast for. Oh, I guess we got this up for Bellingham, but no, this is Sudden Valley. Hold on, let me pull this back just to the lowlands. So this would be Bellingham area, high of 46, a 30% chance of rain. And then Christmas night looks like more of a chance of rain. We could have a nice Saturday. Could have some break coming. And you can actually see that if we go back to the weather models tonight. I think that's going to show. Let me turn that off and let me show you this. And this is kind of bonus time. Thanks for all who joined tonight. Have a great night if you're heading off, and just hopefully this ends up being a safe Christmas Eve for everyone. But I think this ridge is going to try to set up after this system or this low kind of dives in. Here comes this ridge on this GFS. See that ridge? That's probably going to keep us fairly, and actually give us a break. Let's just say that. Okay. And so looks like a break, and then toward the middle of next week, it kind of breaks down the break. And then it's a little far out, but that's kind of maybe some mountain snow maybe there, not a ton. And then we're way too far out in La La Land. So let's see. Oh, the Euro might be out tonight now. Have I waited? Oh, yeah, the Euro's out. Is that right? 0Z? Hang on. Let me take a look at this a second. Let's look at the Euro for the latest maps here. There comes that ridge. And then it breaks down mid-week next week. Okay. Let's take a look at the wind for the Euro tonight. Let's see what if it's changed anything. First, we're going to look at the pressure. Sea level, mean sea level pressure. Let's see. The low hits kind of off the coast of California, 990. Kind of sitting there tomorrow morning. Then it digs inland. The Euro's continuing to say no windstorm. I mean, overall. just by that look. We can confirm it with what the Gus map is going to show, but I'm pretty sure the Euro's continuing to say no big windstorm. Yep, nothing. You guys are going to be like, what's the big deal? So, nothing there on the Euro tonight for a windstorm. So, John asked, any comparison to Vancouver storm that Stanley Park was devastated by? You know, I remember that happening, and I'd have to find out what year that was. This is a different track than I mean, maybe there's been one or two others, but this is not a normal track. So it's hard to for me or for any of us to say. I mean, there might be some people that have been around the block more than I have, and you know, I only started studying this, you know, in the 2016, 17, or 15 time frame. I do remember storms before that, but I didn't study this dynamics and all of these weather model maps and stuff. So I'm not as up on that. I could dig up if I knew what day it was. If I knew what day it was, I can pull up the old data. But I just don't. I do remember the storm, and I remember the Stanley Park issues. But okay, Grifter says it was a northwest wind, and was that when was there like a seawall that was devastated? I'm trying to remember. And where is that seawall? But it seems like that. Again, my memory is, you know, well, let's just Google it. Stanley Park damaged by windstorm. December of 06. At least, okay, December of 06. Now, was that... Hold on a second. Was that the Hanukkah windstorm? Was it Hanukkah Eve? Hanukkah windstorm. Yeah. Is this it? The Hanukkah Eve? Oh, if this is it, it was December... It was December 13th and December 15th. Let's see. Between December 13th, the storm-produced hurricane. Okay, Washington. Okay, I remember this one. Where's the BC information? Oregon. Where's your BC? It's got to be. Is that the same one? December of 06? Is that if it's the Hanukkah Eve windstorm, this is not the same track. It's got to be this one. So, no. I don't think, assuming again that this is the same one. I'm trying to find more information on Stanley Park. It had winds up to 90 kilometers per hour, a king tide, and a storm surge. That's right. Yeah, sections of the seawall. That's right. I thought so. Yeah, December 15th. Here it is. I do remember. I got a story about this someday. I'll tell you about the Hanukkah Eve storm. It's the storm that got me to cut my big trees out down here by my house. Get them out of here. I thought they for sure were going to fall. Just reading about it. Cut power to 250,000. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, that Hanukkah Eve storm was horrible. So, okay, everyone, I will catch you up tomorrow with a video if I need, or we'll post on the page. Again, thank you for all the support, and we hope you have a great night.